Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The sensex and the Nifty end the first week of 2024 with minor cuts. Financials continue to see profit booking. Midcaps continue to buck the trend. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is set to arrive in the Middle East amidst fears of the Gaza war spilling over to other regions. The visit comes a day after a U.S. strike in Baghdad killed the commander of an Iran-backed militia. Meanwhile, the Islamic State claims responsibility for the twin explosions in Iran, which killed over 100 people. Global freight rates soar as shipping companies switch to a longer route due to attacks by militants in the Red Sea. Rates on the Shanghai to New York route are up by 30% a month. Rates on the Shanghai to Rotterdam route have doubled. The Indian Navy deploys Warship INS Chennai to assist a vessel hijacked in the Arabian Sea with 15 Indian crew members. This is the latest among a series of maritime incidents in the region since last month. Canada's Brookfield Asset Management is set to acquire American Tower Corporation's India assets for $2.5 billion in an all-cash deal. The deal makes Brookfield the largest telecom tower operator in India. Payment platform Mobikwik makes a second attempt to list on the Lal Street, halves the fresh issue size to 700 crore rupees. Mobikwik decided against launching the IPO in November of 2021 despite getting SEBI's approval, citing weak market sentiment. And also on the show was Narayana Murthy surprised by the blowback to his comment on the 70-hour week. An exclusive conversation coming up. Well, let's start with the stock market action for the first week of the new year. The Sensex and the Nifty ending Friday and the week with marginal cuts. It's been a cautious start to the new year across stock markets worldwide. Financial stocks continue to see some profit booking, but there is no stopping the mid-cap rally. The outperformance there continues. 52 points higher on the Nifty today. Sensex up by about 178 points. The Nifty Bank down in the red, but just about. And the mid-cap index closing strong. As I pointed out, the outperformance there for the mid-caps continuing. Surabhi joins us now to wrap up the market action for the week that was for the Lal Street at the start of 2024. Surabhi.
Well, ending the first week of 2024 on a very quiet note and a slightly indecisive note as well. And that's what was really anticipated as well, because we ended the previous year on such a high. January comes with what is known as a bit of a January jinx. And I guess the first week tells us that there are a lot of questions that need to be answered ahead for the market. One of those questions will at least get partially answered later this evening when we get the US non-farm payrolls report, because the uncertainty really is coming in from the West, from Wall Street, on the pace of rate cuts that are penciled in already. The Fed told us 3 rate cuts are coming, but the market perhaps was anticipating more. And a lot of, the future trajectory will depend on just the strength of the jobs market and the strength of the U.S. economy itself, because those yields, the U.S. 10-year yields this week, they were touching that 4% mark, putting stocks in a bit of a tizzy. Anyway, coming back to our market, we've ended the week with the Nifty very little change. The good news for the bulls is that there is buying at lower levels. We saw that on Thursday and we saw that again on Friday. The market spent the better part of the session on a down note. A lot of the pressure on bank stocks was very visible. But in the afternoon, in the last half hour, the buyers came back in, ensuring that the Nifty has a close closer to the 21,700 mark. So the buy on dips, texture of the market is intact. That's what we know from the end of this week. And we also know that mid-caps are still drawing in plenty of, punches. You had the PSU party that continued on Friday. In particular, the power stock was well lit up thanks to the new CERC tariff norms that came in. And then, of course, we have, names like real estate, which have done so well. The realty index, by the way, is the top performing sector for the week, with huge moves happening just before the quarterly updates started trickling in. Now, next week is going to be really, the proof of the pudding, because we have the numbers coming in, hard numbers and earnings, and whether those numbers are adding up or not will decide the course of direction, at least in terms of domestic use. IT kicks off the season, and the street has become a little more optimistic, or should I say a little less pessimistic on IT earnings, with some upgrades coming in. And that is where the buying was very evident even on Friday. So the market will hope that we start off the earnings season on a positive note. The other big positive is FII inflows. They continue to be intact. On Thursday, we had about 1,500 crores of buying come in, expecting more of that by the end of Friday when we get the official data. So quite positive, but fairly cautious. That's how we have started off 2024 on the street.
All right, so many thanks for joining us. Now moving on to the big international story where tensions flare up in West Asia. The U.S. conducted a retaliatory strike in Iraq, killing a pro-Iran military commander. The U.S. has justified the strike as an act of self-defense against the commander who was claimed to be planning attacks on U.S. personnel. The U.S. strike came after the Islamic State claimed responsibility for the dual explosions in Iran that killed at least 100 people. Meanwhile, Israel's defense minister has prepared a post-war plan for Gaza ahead of U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to the Middle East. This is Blinken's fourth visit to the Middle East in 3 months and comes amidst fears of the war spreading to other regions. The Palestinian death toll has crossed 22,000, even as Israel has warned of more attacks on southern Gaza. In Lebanon, thousands of Hamas sympathizers gathered to mourn the death of Hamas deputy commander who was killed in an Israeli drone strike earlier. Now, strikes by Iran-backed Houthi militants on shipping companies have forced companies to divert from the crucial Red Sea route and take the long way around South Africa's Cape of Good Hope. Now, this has led to a rise in global freight rates. As per a report by Centrum, the freight rate on the Shanghai-New York route is up between 25 to 30% in just a month. Rates on the Shanghai-Rotterdam route are more than doubled. Indian government officials met with shipping companies and exporters yesterday to take stock of the impact of the situation in the Red Sea. Sources say the Defense Ministry is providing escort ships to many consignments in the high seas. And the Indian Navy has deployed the warship INS Chennai to assist a cargo ship suspected to have been hijacked near the coast of Somalia. Reports say that 15 Indians are on board the Liberia-flagged ship, which was headed from Brazil to Bahrain. The vessel alerted the UK maritime trade operations to the boarding of 5 to 6 armed assailants yesterday. In a statement, the Indian Navy has said that its maritime patrol aircraft overflew the vessel earlier today and established contact. The warship INS Chennai is now heading towards the vessel. This is the latest among a series of maritime incidents in the region since last month. Early in December, the Navy had responded to a piracy incident in a vessel. Then on the 23rd of December, the Navy responded to a drone attack on a vessel headed to Mangalore. So we continue to see issues and challenges on the waters. The US government has claimed that Russia has started using ballistic missiles supplied by North Korea to attack Ukraine. In a statement, the White House has said that out of the weapons that were provided, at least one was fired into Ukraine on the 30th of December. The White House has also alleged that Russia is in talks with Iran to purchase close-range missiles. However, the deal has not been completed yet. The US government, along with its allies, plans to raise the matter with the United Nations Security Council. Tensions rising in the Korean peninsula in what could be seen as a provocative move. North Korea fired at least 200 artillery shells across the South Korean sea coast. Now, this is part of the sea that has been a long flashpoint between the two sides. The firing has not hurt any military personnel or civilians, but has prompted South Korea to respond with its own shooting exercise. Residents living near the disputed zone were asked to evacuate ahead of this exercise. Back to India, Canada's top investor Brookfield Asset Management Company is all set to acquire American Tower Corporation, India's business, for $2.5 billion. After this deal, Brookfield will emerge as the largest telecom tower operator in India. Nisha joins us now with more on the deal and what this means for Brookfield in India. Nisha.
That's right. It's a large transaction and a significant one as it changes the dynamics of the telecom tower industry in the country. So Brookfield, with its acquisition of ATC India's telecom tower portfolio in a whopping $2.5 billion transaction, pips Indus Towers, the erstwhile industry leader, and becomes the largest telecom tower operator in the country. Talking about the numbers, 252,000 towers with this acquisition now becomes the portfolio for Brookfield Asset Management versus around 200,000 that had been reported by Indus Towers. Now, when we talk about this transaction, it's expected to be completed in the second half of 2024. Also significant to note that it is an InvIT play in all sense, because Data Infrastructure Trust that had been created by Brookfield a few years back is the acquirer entity of this particular portfolio, and they have been beefing up the portfolio. This is the third transaction by Data Infrastructure Trust, and now they've become the largest telecom tower provider in the country. Brookfield stated as part of the rationale for this particular deal that this enhances and expands their portfolio and gives them the ability to give more solutions propositions to their customers as well as their partners. In terms of the deal valuation, in terms of the EV per tower basis, it could be a little cheaper than what Indus Towers is trading at. But Brookfield Asset Management now holds the largest telecom tower assets in the country.
Nisha, many thanks. That's the big deal today. Now, power stocks lit up in trade today after analysts cheered CERC's new draft policy that incentivizes higher power output for both thermal and new renewable projects. As per the draft policy, the return on equity for new storage-based hydro projects has been increased by 50 basis points. Similarly, incentives for thermal power plants operating at over 85% capacity during peak times has also been hiked. The norms will be effective from the 1st of April 2024. The Income Tax Department has claimed a 4,000 crore rupee tax demand from Shree Cements. Sources tell us that this comes after a survey conducted by the department, which highlighted that the company wrongfully claimed 8,500 crore rupees from April 2014 to March 2023. In a clarification, Shree Cements told CNBC-TV18 the allegations leveled against the company are speculative and devoid of merit. Shares of Shree Cement dropped nearly 5% on the back of this development. National Thermal Power Corporation has received demand orders from GST authorities in 7 states worth over 100 crore rupees. The demand orders have been issued from states including Delhi, Maharashtra, UP, among others. NTPC said it will appeal before the appellate authority against the orders. Realty stocks have been surging for 2 consecutive sessions with share prices at 52-week highs. The rally is driven by a drop in interest rates, strong sales, price cuts in raw materials and rising rental rates. We asked Niranjan Hiranandani of the Hiranandani Group and Irfan Razak of Prestige Estates about the growth momentum. Both developers expect the boom to continue.
The upcycle has started. It's now 3 years. Just post-COVID, we've had a good run. The demand has been consistent, and we are actually producing more and more. And whatever we are producing and launching is getting taken up. And yes, we have moved to different territories, not only Mumbai. We are in most of the south, and now we have moved into Mumbai.
India is growing, but real estate will grow faster. And I believe that the multiplier effect of real estate is going to take place in the rest of the economy. If real estate continues to grow the way it is, I'm going to see an 8% growth in GDP by the end of 2024, not the 6 and 7%.
Well, from realty to fintech, fintech platform Mobikwik has refiled its draft IPO papers with the market regulator SEBI. The company has cut its issue size down to 700 crore rupees. Remember, Mobikwik had filed its draft papers for the first time in 2021. It had then targeted a fresh issue of 1,500 crores. However, it's decided to delay its plans due to weak market sentiment and now has refiled with the regulator. Yash is standing by with the details. Yash, so refiling its DRHP, that's Mobikwik. Take us through the details. How different does the picture look versus the last time?
Well, Shirin, with the buoyant market conditions, Mobikwik is essentially, hoping to be second line lucky as far as D Street is concerned. But the difference that has come about in the first attempt and the second attempt is that the fresh issue size has been more than halved. Earlier, the fresh issue that Mobikwik was looking at was about 1,500 crore. The revised DRHP, which has been filed, says that the fresh issue would be about 700 crore. Also, what has changed is that now there's a provision of a pre-IPO placement of about 140 crore rupees. If this 140 crore pre-IPO placement is executed, then the fresh issue will reduce further in accordance with that 140 crore of pre-IPO placement. Importantly, use of proceeds, 250 crore towards financial services business, 135 crore towards payment services business, 135 crore towards machine learning and artificial intelligence, and about 70 crore towards capital expenditure towards the payment devices business. Selling shareholders, of course, Bipinpreet Singh, Upasna Taku, Narinder Singh Family Trust, and Koshur Family Trust. Now let's come at the financials of the company, which has been refiled as a part of this DRHP. FY21, the revenue was 288 crore. It was up 82% in the following year, that is FY22, FY23, just a growth of about 2.5%. As far as first half of FY24 is concerned, the revenue stands at about 381 crore rupees. Has been EBITDA loss-making for FY21, 22 and 23, But in the first half of FY24, it's made an EBITDA profit of 21 crore rupees. On the net side, FY21, 22, 23 has been loss-making. First half of FY24, it's made a profit of about 9.5 crore. The liabilities for the company have been more or less stable. FY21, it was 443 crore rupees. First half of FY24, it stands at about 534 crore rupees. Now, risk factors, and the first one is quite interesting. It says that the management will have a broad discretion when it comes to the use of net proceeds, which have been specified in the IPO document. Now, in case if the shareholders do not come on board with that change in plans when it comes to use of IPO proceeds, the management is supposed to give them an exit option. But it also says that it cannot assure that the promoters will have the resources to enable this exit option at the time, at the price which is determined by SEBI. Also, it talks about a potential regulatory action from RBI with respect to some discrepancies in filing of documents. The company has not been able to obtain credit rating, which might create problems when it comes to raising funds, discrepancies with ROC filing, and unable to trace some historical and corporate secretarial records as far as the company is concerned.
All right, Yash, many thanks for joining us. Some of the risk factors there for Mobikwik in its DRHP as it gets set to hit the Lal Street. Time for us to head into a short break, but up next, an exclusive conversation with Sudha Murthy and Narayana Murthy on the blowback he received for his comments on the 70-hour work week. Infosys co-founder Narayana Murthy has responded to the backlash over his advice of 70-hour work week. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC-TV18, Murthy said he's never given advice that he's not followed himself. He also recounted that he used to leave for work at 6 in the morning and return home after 9 p.m. for 6 days a week. His point was that to build an institution, the work needs to be done.
I rationalized it this way. If anybody that has performed much better than me in their own field, not necessarily in my field, I would respect, I would call them, and I would say, where do you think I was wrong in saying this? But I didn't find. A lot of my Western friends, a lot of NRIs, a lot of good people in India called me, and without exception, they were all very happy. They all said, whether it's 70, 60, that's not the issue. The issue is that we have to work hard in this country because the poor farmer works very hard. The poor factory worker works very hard. So therefore, those of us who received education at a huge discount thanks to the subsidy from the government for all these educations too. In my case, I got scholarship right from my pre-university, national scholarship. So I said, we owe it to the less fortunate citizens of India to work extremely hard. So therefore, whenever somebody who has performed better than me comments on it, I would take it very seriously, but not otherwise, no.
I come from a doctor's family. My father used to work more than 70 hours a week. My sister is a doctor. She also works more than 70 hours. Murthy has worked 90 hours a week.
No, here I used to go 6.5 days. Even in Electronic City, I used to work 6.5 days. And every day I would leave home at 6 a.m. in the morning. I would be in the office at 6:20. And I would leave by about 8:15, 8:30. Then only Mohan would leave. And then I would be home by about 9:15, 9:30. Children would be ready. We would take them to McFast or one of those pizza joints or something. Those days, there were no Pizza Hut. And we would have a wonderful time up to 11, 11:30. So, and I used to do it for 6 days a week. It's about 6.5 days, 13 to 14 hours a day, 6.5 days a week. That was. And I have done it. Therefore, one thing I have followed, and that whatever advice I have given to others, I think by and large, I have followed it. I have not given advice to people without having done it myself.
You can catch the full conversation with Sudha Murthy and Narayana Murthy at 7 p.m. on Monday, the 8th of January, right here on CNBC-TV18. The union budget is less than a month away. What is your wish list for the finance minister? Presenting the CNBC-TV18 budget ballot box coming to a hotspot near you. We will place these ballot boxes at popular public spots like malls, colleges, theatres and others across major cities. We will ask newsmakers who drop into our studios for their budget wish list. So come join us and tell us what is your top budget wish for the finance minister. Drop your wish list at a CNBC-TV18 budget ballot box near you. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. More news and updates will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.